All right. I think we are live. Okay. All right. My name is Justin. This is AI for the Masses. And we are going to be talking about my game development of my game, The Story of Someone. If you saw my last video, we were procedurally generating buildings for the village in my town. And we are doing it in a method that we call vibe coding, where I am collaborating very actively with the AI, with the actual coding, and more or less being like presenting myself as a project manager rather than the actual like software writer. And it's a really good process of like problem solving. So if you're working on a big project, then it's typically people who are successful with finishing large projects know how to break projects down into very smaller problems. And so the idea of vibe coding, in my opinion, is that you're taking a big problem, breaking it down to small problems, but communicating those small problems to the AI and having the AI do a lot of the heavy lifting on the details of the coding. So what we want to do is we want to see the methodology that I've come up with of vibe coding using Gemini 2.5 Pro. I keep my AI separate from my coding environment, and it's just a preference that I tend to go with, in that I like to keep an air gap, and I vet the code most of the time. Sometimes I'm very confident in the AI's ability to write code in a way that I feel is in harmony with what I'm looking for and the methodology. And so sometimes there's a little bit of me just pressing the I believe button. I trust you, let's go. And there have been criticisms that I have seen about, well, like what happens if you get to the point where you don't even know what your code does. There's solutions to that. You can actually have the AI explain code to you. You can take the code that it has written that maybe you don't fully understand, paste it in and say, give me a play-by-play of what this code does. So what I want to do is I want to continue with what I've been working on with the game development. It's not any sort of stage that might be very visually exciting. This is very technical at the scope that I'm at right now, making the templates for my buildings. But there's a lot that can be learned from this process. And this is a highly like mathematical, technical, conceptual kind of level of like coding at this stage of my game. So let me give you a tour of what I've been doing so far. Right now, what you have in front of you is dark gray boxes are the outer boundaries of a basic house. A blue boxes are a bed, a red box is a fireplace, a brown box is a door. I have different sizes. So this is a residence. So I have different sizes that I can bring up, and you can see here now there is basically a bedroom. And so we have two twin beds, and the fireplace has gotten bigger. I can go one size higher to large, and now I have what I consider to be like a full-size bed with a bedroom. Now there's nothing going on in the main living space because I'm trying to stick to my guns, keep things simple, and not have scope creep get in the way. I want to finish all of my basic buildings. Then I think I'll make a little bit of asset art to make it look a little more visually appealing. I can start kind of playing around with what is the style that I'm going to have. I do want this to be a fantasy-based role-playing game. So this is just for a residence, and I can continue to make procedurally generated versions. So you can see the door hops around, the bedroom changes orientation, fireplace is always opposite the bedroom, things like that. Now, I worked yesterday also on an inn, so you have multiple bedrooms. You have a countertop here on the bottom left corner for the worker to to be like bringing new customers in. Oh, and AZ. See, thank you. So, looks like I'm new to this live streaming, and I was having some sound issues, but I had like 3 different things that I was trying to work on from the last stream, and hopefully they are significantly better. Added some sound dampening panels off camera to the walls here, and so thanks AZ, and thanks for giving me the feedback when you told me what it kind of sounded like. I went and listened to it myself, and I agreed with you. So I appreciate that. So here is the N. This is a large version. Twin beds and full beds. Countertop changes positions. Multiple rooms. And, I can expand from here, but at least I have the basics. There's also a size change to the N, just like the residence, and even a small one that's kind of like just a little dormitory style. Okay, so today's project is for the shop. So if you look at my terminal down at the bottom here, I appreciate the help, is that I have been procedurally generating an N over and over of different sizes, and now I generated a small shop, but there's nothing to it. So if I keep pressing the refresh button over and over again, all I'm doing is changing the position of the door. Okay, I can change the size, and it's just a footprint. So I have to populate this. I think, to keep it real simple, I'm just going to, for a small shop, let me go back to shop. So I'm just going to make it where there's just a small counter, maybe in the top right or top left corner, that one person would be standing there, and you can purchase items. When I say shop, I do mean a generic shop. When in the game, there'll be a weapon shop, an armor shop, an item shop. And I think for now, I'm expecting to have it where one generation of a shop will just create that template. And then if it's a weapon shop, then I can have art assets that are swords and bows and arrows and things along the walls. And if it's an armor shop, then it would be plate armor and leather armor, things like that. A lot of the stereotypical stuff that you usually see in role-playing games. And the item shop would be potions and herbs and stuff like that. So the decorations of the shop would be what would delineate the look, but I want to procedurally generate a generic like layout that is different every time, but just gets the point across of the size. So let's start with the small shop. So what I did here is I've already taken the code for my building generator, and I consolidated it all into one file using my consolidating program here. So this script, this Python script, goes into my directory and copies the text out of all of my C# files, my C#, my JSON, my C# project files, and it copies that text into one TXT file that I can give to the AI and this is a fresh chat over here in Google Gemini on the left. And so I can give it full context of the code base that I'm currently wanting to work on. I also give it a set of system instructions that are basically good practices for coding. Nothing fancy, just general little things that I felt like it needed to do. Not all of these are my original ideas, and little problems I had with like non-nullable references and were getting in the way and things. So as problems came up, I came up with instructions. So I always copy and paste these instructions into the AI with every fresh chat. So we're going to work on, like I was saying, the shop. So I think I just want to put either a counter of length 3 on the top left or top right corner of the shop for the small shop. Okay. So we are going to add features to the small shop now. I want to add a counter. Now, I had already given rules about the countertop for the inn. So check it out. So these three squares, and they have a slightly different color, slightly different hue than the door, and the AI understands that my code for the countertop is a specific feature. So I can refer to this. Now I have the countertop always being on the bottom left or the bottom right, but there's always floor tiles between the south wall. So I'm just going to tell it to basically do the opposite. For the shop, I want the countertop to always be near the north boundary wall, but adjacent to the east or west wall. Please put floor tiles. Let's see, please put one row of floor tiles between the counter and the north wall. For the small shop, I think we can just go ahead and start talking about all of the sizes. Make the counter 3 tiles wide. And let's look at the size of the medium shop. I'm thinking we can go at least 5. Okay, actually, let me not get too complicated, because I think I am going to possibly have more than one counter in shops, bigger shops. So as I go large, I could either do one complete countertop all the way across. I think I'm even going to have it be 2 rows down. So let me do this one at a time. Let's just do small. All right, let's see how well this works out. Another thing that might not be obvious is I have found that I like to keep my temperature down to 0. And the reason is that creativity allowed in responses to me seems unnecessary with coding. Coding does have a creativity element to it, but not in the writing of it. It's more in the conceptualizing. The creativity is in understanding what it is that you want to have happen, and then coding is stochastic. It's like it pretty much works or it doesn't. So I would rather there not be creativity in the implementation of the actual writing of the lines, and it being creative on where do I want the countertop, how do I want the building structure, but not creativity in how you write the code. So I have found that since I've been keeping the temperature at 0, the style of the code seems to stay more consistent, which is something that I have felt as an opinion of a lot of developers is very important. And so that is my biggest reason for keeping temperature at 0. All right, let's see what we got. So shopgenerator.cs. I'll give you a small tour of the code here. So I have one directory that has building types, and we have the inn, residence, shop, and tavern. So the inn is already a pretty decent length, and it has every single asset that is created and how they're thought of and what they're referring to as different methods. And then the residence has its own list of find further placement. Here, let's go create bedroom, place full bed, probably 2 twin beds here. Okay. But if we go to the shop, which I haven't done anything yet, there's nothing. There's just basically a small base template for it to just standing by. And now we're actually going to have some functional code in here. So, oh yeah, AZ is like, I could also provide the AI with some examples of your preferred coding patterns to reduce variation. I agree. For me, I don't have a lot of preferred coding patterns. I mean, I've done a lot of projects, but they've always just been like little personal projects, things with microcontrollers, Arduino. And I also teach the basics of coding, like at a school. But it's not a computer science major. It's for engineering students, and it's the first semester, and so like coding style is there almost isn't really much of a style yet. So my personal this is advice that is unfortunately kind of wasted on me personally, because I don't have a coding pattern that I can like really describe. But yeah, anybody who does, like, absolutely, for sure, that applies. That applies even for like creative writing or even writing emails, things like that, is to give that example of how you write. Some people might I don't know. There's all kinds of opinions out there about AI and coding and writing and stuff like that. But yeah, AZ, you have a very good, I think, commonly overlooked technique to make sure that your writing of just about anything can be as consistent as possible, and that's giving the AI an example. Absolutely agree. So that was a pretty easy update there. Let's see what happens. I'm very confident that it's going to get this right. The only thing I can guess if it was going to get wrong is having the countertop not be away from the north wall the way I would like. But looking like, okay, yep, there we go. That nothing complicated. That's all. That's exactly what I was looking for. I want this to be a tiny little shop. There'll be like one guy in there. You can buy a handful of items. There'll be maybe some decorations along the walls, some items sitting around, something like that. All right, let's move on to medium. So I am thinking that I will have a longer countertop. I think I'll go with minimum 4, maximum 6 wide. Yeah, and if I decide that I want any other like features or personality to the shop, then I'll add it later. I just want to get some basics going here, and so let's not overthink this. All right. I always try to give it a little bit of confirmation that I liked the update and that I actually did it, because I can't see my code unless I give the code. Looks good. Now let's work on the medium shop. I want a counter top with the same features. The only, I should be more specific, same features as the small shop. The only change is that I want a range for the width of the countertop. I would like the countertop to be a minimum width of 4 tiles and a maximum of 6. So I don't know how obvious it is to everyone that, notice how I'm saying I want a countertop, a width of the countertop. I would like the countertop. I'm never saying like I'd like it, that kind of thing. I'm not using pronouns. I find that's just good communication skills. As a teacher myself, I try not to use pronouns and say move this over there and it would be 5 or something like that. I find that's a very common, annoying faux pas that a lot of teachers do. And it's just good communication skills. And I feel that the ability to maximize the utility of AI in your workflow really hinges on your ability to communicate with that AI. So let's see what happens. And using pronouns is one thing that can really kill the communication stream. Like, really adds an extra barrier. This one hopefully won't take too long. Let me go ahead and get ready for running it. Okay. Here we go. Excellent. Let's add the features for the medium-sized shop. Okay. So it's the same file, just now it's got probably an extra method or an change to method. So placing medium counter looks like, yeah, we got a range of 4 to 7, which is non-inclusive of the 7. And so we got a Boolean on whether or not we're going to have it on the east wall or the west wall. So it says, is it on the west wall? Yes or no. And then it gives the placement coordinates along with the width. Okay. Yep, pretty straightforward code. All right, go to the tavern, or sorry, shop. Okay, and now, there we go. 4, 5, 6, 5, 6. It's just random. I'm not orchestrating this. So if you can imagine, there could be like 1 or 2 shopkeepers standing here, and then there could be like decorations and items. I have been thinking about having a little bit of an Elder Scroll style to the game where you could actually pick up the items that are here, but then you would be considered a thief. So, on that note, if we go to the large, I am thinking that I want to have a countertop that goes all the way across. Maybe in future versions, I'll have the countertop wrap around like this, like an L shape, and there's all kinds of very tempting items that you could technically steal if you wanted to, but they're out of your reach. However, I may put in the game that there is a way to get back there, but it's not guaranteed, and you have to be very mindful. You have to pay close attention. There might be a little clue as to whether or not there is a way to get behind this counter. So I think that's fun. I have played many role-playing games where I'm like, I see these things and they seem to be decorations in the technical sense, but they are the same art asset as the actual item in the game, which means if there was a way to get behind that countertop, I should be able to pick it up. But I think that in like probably 99% of role-playing games that I've played, like especially these 2D style, they were just there because it was convenient to use the same art assets to decorate the shop as the art assets that you actually use when picking up the items. I always felt like that was such an annoying tease. So I plan on making it where, yes, those are items. Yes, you can pick them up, but how do you get back there? Okay? And I'm not saying that you're always able to. I'm saying that since I'm going to have a procedurally generated game, I want there to be sometimes, rarely, you'd be able to get back there to grab those items, and that if it is possible, the clue is going to be so subtle that most people might not even notice it. All right, so I'm just going to do a countertop straight across, but since this is going to be bigger, I want to make more space. I want to make this thing feel like it's a commercial operation. So I'm going to have 2 rows of tiles. All right, again, looks good. Now, let's make the large shop's countertop. I want the countertop to span from the west wall to the east wall completely. The main, well, let's see, I would, should I go 2 or 3? Yeah, I want to have a little bit of variability. I want to verify that there's some sort of procedural generation going on with every asset that I put in. So I'm going to make it where there's 2 or 3 floor tiles. I would like the countertop to have either 2 or 3 rows of floor tiles between the countertop and the north wall. Did I repeat myself there? No. Nope. Okay. Yeah, let's do that. Hey, yeah, AZ, you've played enough games to know what I'm talking about, huh? You agree? I think that the visuals in a video game, I mean, they serve multiple purposes, and one purpose that I feel is kind of expected quite a lot in a video game is that visual cues are giving you a clue as to the intention of what the game developer wanted you to do. And to have like an actual potion sitting in a room that you could grab but you can't reach it, and they're just like, oh, it's just decoration. It's like, no, it's not. It's not just decoration. It is an actual item. But, you know, like, okay, yeah, you're not supposed to be taking stuff that's not yours, but I want consequences then. I want there to be if you try hard enough, if you really wanted to, you could get that thing, but there would be potential consequences. All right. Let's see how this turned out. I don't think I'm going to do too much of anything else with the shop today other than these countertops. Okay, there we go. Yes, right? I don't want to. I just want to know again. I want to choose to be a good person, right? I want to know that I could have been bad and I decided not to be. Is that kind of what that's kind of what I'm getting out of your statement there, AZ? Yeah, I feel that way about things. Okay. Oh, all right. So good. I have a countertop, so I can maybe imagine like if this was a large shop, that maybe I have a mixture of weapons dealers. Maybe there's a swords dealer and an archer dealer and a mace dealer, something like that. And all my weapons are procedurally generated, and even which types of dealers in the shop will be different, and it won't always be the same types and those kinds of things. I want my game to be, there's some sort of a surprise around every corner. And not huge surprises, just that you just don't know what to expect. Every single time you play this game, the world's just going to be a little bit different. So there's an expectation. There's an expectation of a feeling, I guess, but not an expectation on the details. All right. The last one is the tavern. Now, the tavern, I think I'm going to add a new asset type. So we're still going to have a countertop, but that's going to be the bar. And then I think I'm going to have bar stools at the bar and then tables in the main room. And I think the only thing that isn't going to have an organized feel is going to be the tables. So I think I'm just going to allow the code to just place tables kind of arbitrarily, but with like a certain exclusion zone around. So if it can only fit 2 tables, then only 2 tables will be there. If it can fit 5, then it'll fit 5. So first let's look at small. So, I mean, a small tavern, I think I will always have the countertop go all the way across one wall, but be one floor tile shy, so that way the NPC can get in and out. Oh, by the way, for the weapon shop, I do want all NPCs to live in their village, and I want them to go home at the end of the day. So for like this large shop, they need a way to exit. Now I might make it where the exit is just some sort of a door that they can walk through the countertop, or it might be a back exit. Hint, hint. So, or could be something else. I don't know. But I will have to make a way for them to be able to exit. So for the medium and the small, obviously they can just walk around the countertop. So for the bar, for the tavern, I do want there to be an access. But I think even for the small one, so one rule I think I'm going to put is that the countertop or the bar, let's call it the bar. I'm gonna call it a countertop to the AI, but obviously we are dealing with a bar. But it'll always go all the way over except one tile away. And yeah, instead of me talking too much, let me just go ahead and say, okay, so this is great. Give the AI some positive feedback here. Now let's work on the tavern. For the small tavern, I want a countertop that starts on, or let's say, that is, let me use the same word, it is adjacent to the north or south wall, and that is just so that way there's a little bit of variation. That spans across the room vertically, but always leaves one floor tile space. I feel like I'm being confusing how I'm wording this. Before reaching the other wall. Okay, so when I feel like I'm getting a little wordy and confusing, then I try to add some context as to the purpose. The reason is that I want the NPC to be able to walk from behind the countertop. Okay. Also, I want the countertop to always be on the side of the room furthest from the door. The reason why I'm doing that is since the countertop can start on a south wall, I don't want it to be on the door. So I'll always have, if the door's over on this side, then the countertop will always be on the opposite side. Plus, when the player comes in, then they can kind of like pass through the open space, and then they have to walk through to go to the bar. I just feel like that's more inviting. And can always change my mind later. It's not that big of a deal. What else is there? So it's either going from north to south or south to north. There should be a tile and a floor tile, and it's always opposite the door. Yeah, that should work. Okay, let's just see what happens. Actually, I'm going to commit what I did with the shop. So okay, added the countertop to all sizes of the shops. or the shop. Okay. Okay, of course, based on your requirements, I will implement the small tavern generator. The countertop will be a vertical bar on the side of the room, furthest from the door, with a one-tile path for the NPC to walk behind it. Yeah, hopefully. Okay, yeah. Hopefully that made sense. Let's see. It's already learned a lot about how my countertop philosophy is, so I think it's going to get the idea. Yeah, okay, not quite. So it understood the north-south ending. Yeah, it's not quite getting it. It's always going from north to south. Okay, so I got to tackle one problem at a time here. Let's get the floor first. Okay, close. I want a column of floor tiles between the west or east wall and the counter top. Okay, keep it simple. Let's at least get that countertop away from the wall. Then I'll worry about trying to get, is it always, it's always opposite of the door. Yeah, as soon as the door swaps to the other side, then the countertop is opposite. So it's getting that. And I think the other thing I'm going to add is bar stools. And this is just going to be a simple little tavern with just bar stools. Or maybe I could add one table. Okay. All right, AZ. Yeah, thanks for checking in and helping me check up on my stuff. I'll see you around. All right. Yeah, good. Now we are... Oh, and it's swapping from north to south, so it picked up on that too. Interesting how it kind of like self-corrected on that one. All right, now let's add bar stools. I think I got enough brown things. What color should the bar stools be? How about I make them kind of like yellow? The colors are just so that way I can distinguish between things, and I'm not really don't read into any of the color choices here, because they're going to be actual sprites later. So let me get the basics of bar stools established. I'll make them orange. Okay, looks good. Now I would like to add my first furniture. Let's start with bar stools. I would like the bar stools to be placed every other tile adjacent to the countertop. They will... How do I express them going along the same direction as the long distance of the countertop? Maybe I just say that they will be placed along the same direction as the long length of the countertop. I mean, AI kind of understands what bar stools and things like that are, but when it comes to coding, sometimes it'll be a little weird. Okay, so I already said, so bar stools, I'd like the bar stool to place every other tile adjacent to the countertop. Let's make the tile for a bar stool or orange. And I want a little bit of procedural generation. The bar stools can start to be placed against the wall or skip the first tile and begin one tile from the wall. All right, let's just see what happens. This was a little confusing in my brain, but we'll see how the AI interprets this. Once I finish these, I got to decide what I'm going to do next. Like, do I just start placing them into my... Yeah, I think I should start placing them into my scaffold. Oh, we got a new... Okay, yes, since we're making a new tile type. Building cell. Okay. I'll place it in my scaffolding game, my base game, and see what it looks like. All right, and then tavern generator. These have been nice, small updates. All right, look at that. Yep, it is doing what I asked. Nice. And if my art assets end up being like the little bar stools, I'll just have bar stools placed every tile along the bar, along the actual bar, but maybe skip every once in a while, so that way it looks like there's a little bit of disorganization. But this gets the idea across. I don't want to have just a row of orange tiles right now, because it can be kind of like not obvious what they are. So I'm doing every other tile for now, so you can see that there's a stool and not a stool, and then I'll make adaptations from there. Okay, I'm liking this. I'm trying to decide. I think I should put a table, just one table. So make the table yellow, so hopefully it'll be a little brighter than the orange. All right, now let's make a table. The table will be a 2x2 tile asset. I need an exclusion zone around the table to make sure it is not directly adjacent to any walls, bar stools, or doors. Yeah. So, in other words, make the entire asset four by four tiles with the outer perimeter of tiles being floor tiles, and the inner 4 tiles being yellow table tiles. Okay, I think that'll work. I think I need to be more clear. Like, it'll be the last thing that gets placed. It'll only get placed if there's space available. But I think I've implied that enough by saying it can't be adjacent to walls, doors, and bar stools, meaning those would be there first. Okay, so let's see how it responded to this. A lot of times the explanation is very telling. Okay, of course we'll add tables to the tavern. This requires defining a new table cell type and then implementing the placement logic with its required exclusion zone. Okay. Wasn't super clear how well it interpreted that, but let's try it out. Okay, update building cell, and then update tavern generator. Okay. And then this is really all that I plan on placing in the tavern. Look at that. Beautiful. Yep. And sometimes it's kind of up in the corner, and sometimes it's a little further down. Beautiful. That's exactly what I was hoping for. That there'd be some amount of variation. And there's your simple little tavern. Okay, next is moving up in scale. So I want to have a countertop. Let's make it where the bar... No, let's just always go all the way across. All right. Okay. Now let's add the assets to the medium tavern. I'm going to try and do this all in one go because I've given it the rules. I just want to make sure it understands the order of the placement and that there's a slight amount of variation. So follow the same placement order of the countertop, bar, stools, and tables. Like we did for the small tavern. Some changes, though. And I'm going to do it one at a time. The countertop still goes until one floor tile from either the north or south walls. Okay. The bar stools are the same. The bar stools are the same and continue the full length of the countertop. The table has the same rules and place as many tables in the room that can legally fit. The placement can be random and unorganized. Let's see how well it can handle just placing tables and knowing whether or not there's actually any room left. That is a tricky thing to code, but people have done it. The AI has seen how people do it. It should be able to pull this off. And I'm just going to do the same thing for the large tavern. There's just going to be a bigger bar, more stools, and more tables. And later versions of the game, I plan on having things like games or like a stage. Maybe like there's a singer, or a band or something like that. Having parties, like moving the tables and stuff like that. Okay, we will now implement the medium tavern following the same pattern as the small one, but filling the remaining space with as many tables as possible. Okay, looks good. You didn't do a new... Oh, that's right, because I didn't add any new furniture. I'm just placing existing assets with only slightly different rules. So this was actually not too difficult as far as updating code. Okay, small, 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 and medium. Look at that. Look at that. Beautiful. Yeah. Oh, wow. We actually had 4 tables this time. Oh, yeah. This is great. I'm loving it. Perfect. Okay. Let's go over large. Looks great. Let's do the same rules for the large tavern as well. I mean, I'm not changing anything major, so it should be pretty much just do it again. There's just more room now. Okay, the large tavern, since the logic for medium and large tavern is identical, I will create a shared method for them. Okay, yeah, that'll work for now. It's making a shared method for both, but if I decide that I want to like distinguish something different for the large tavern, it won't be hard for it to fix that. Okay, small, medium, and large. Look at that. Look at how beautiful that is. Yeah, definitely in the large. That should be the first time that I like maybe place a stage. Maybe there's a stage that can be randomly placed along the wall. Maybe never adjacent to the north. You know what? I'm so tempted. I'm just gonna do it. Let me just put a stage in the large tavern. I can't help myself. Okay, I want to add a new element to the large tavern. Before placing the tables, let's make a stage. What color should the stage tiles be? Let's make it a light green. Let's make the stage between... So the stage can be 3 or 4 tiles wide and up to 6 tiles long. The stage tiles will be, I said green, right? Light green. The dimensions can be 3 to 4 tiles horizontal and 4 to 6 tiles vertical. Let's have a 20% chance of producing a stage. follow the rules of the table placement and place the tables after placing a stage if the stage is being created. All right, I think that should work. And I'm just putting that 20% chance there. I should probably make it 50%, and then I can change it to a lower percentage later. I might not even have it be a percentage per se. I might have it be based on like the type of town. Is this kind of a happy, fun town? Is this a town that historically is like doing well? Yeah, or are they struggling? I think the stage will make the large tavern feel much more distinct. This requires a new cell. Okay, so building cell. So here are all the different, I mean, I could just, add this one line in, but I'm just going to be lazy. And then tavern generator. That should be it. All right, small, still working. I like to still check these. Medium, still working. And then, oh, okay. You know what? The stage being in the middle of the room isn't that big of a deal. But, okay, yeah. Oops. It's always going to be in the back wall. Pretty good. I want to add another constraint to the stage. Let's always put the stage along the east or west wall, whichever is opposite of the countertop. Whichever is the opposite, and just be a little bit more opposite side of the countertop. But never put the stage adjacent to the south wall, because there could be a door there. Wonder where the chances, let's see, bar stools, tables. I want to see where they put the percentage for the stage being made. I'm not seeing it here. May have to ask, where does it do the 20%? Because I shouldn't have the 20% in there while I'm testing. It shouldn't be so low. Okay. Close. I think it might have adjusted the countertop. Okay, let me ask. where do I set the 20% production rate of the stage? Also, could we put the stage adjacent to the east or west wall when placed? Yeah, I wonder why it's not obvious to me, at least, where the, because I don't think it's going to be building cell. This is just for the color and the tile type. So on the right or random. Yeah, I'm still not seeing a 20% anywhere in here. That's why I asked. I'm kind of curious instead of it just, okay, yes, two excellent questions. Where's the 20% production rate? Yeah, where is that? Oh, it's in the layout of the tavern. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to up that to... All right, cool. So first let me paste this in. It's around line 60. Probably still going to be around the same spot. Yep, there it is. I'm going to make this like 80%. I'm going to do the opposite. Okay. Tavern medium, good. Stage all the way on one side. And yep, and it happens most of the time. Not bad, I like it. Okay, I think I'm done with my basic buildings. I like how this turned out. I think it's a great starting point. I have a finite list of like art that I would need to make for these things, and I would still end up making the art very simple, like just basically circle tables. Maybe I just kind of color some chairs in. Later I'll probably put chairs around the tables as individual assets that the table is, like I put the chair first and then I put the table on top. And as far as layers are concerned, and then bar stools and countertop, making an art for the end of the countertop and the middle pieces and stuff like that. So this is what I'm very pleased with this. Let's go ahead and commit. All right, and made the assets for all sizes of the tavern. Made the bar, stool, tables, and stage. Procedural generation of all 4 building types complete. All right. Okay, that feels good. All right, well, I'm going to stop this stream at that milestone. Hopefully there's something that you were able to learn from this, and I'm just going to keep charging forward. I will decide what I will be working on next. Probably integrating the interiors of the buildings to my proof of concept version of the game. So the point of the sandbox is to allow me to just very quickly iterate on the design of something. And then from there, I can add stuff, take things away, add new features. And then I can also, since that piece of code is segregated, so the AI didn't even have to see my main game's code to help me work on this. But the AI did know when I started this part of the project that the point was to integrate this sandbox and as an output. What is generated, it will be able to refer to making an N of medium size, and then it can get the asset, the generated asset, and attach it to a building in the main game. So that way when I enter the building, I will enter and I will see the interior. But it just triggers the sandbox in order to create these building types. So the code can be worked on for me to enhance the procedural generation without needing to see the rest of the game code, which helps with context window and token count for the AI. Keeps things a little bit more simple and segregated. But then it can access that code later. So in the next stream, that's probably what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be showing you how I can get the game to grab the different building types and put them into the procedurally generated world that it creates. All right, so this is AI for the Masses. My name's Justin, and I'll see you in the next one.